Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler's WPblab. Tonight's topic is building your WordPress freelance by speaking or teaching. We're here with Adam Silver. Adam, before we introduce you, we like to be rude and introduce ourselves. Bridget, tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, I'm Bridget Willard. I sometimes blog at bridgetwillard.com, and I'm the marketing manager for GiveWP.com, the most robust online donation plugin for WordPress.
Awesome. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on the Twitters, and I blog over jasontucker.blog. So, Adam,
yes.
Adam Silver, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hey, Adam Silver.
I am Adam Silver. I podcast weekly over at kitchensinkwp.com, and I just launched a second show called Get Options Podcast with my buddy Kyle Maurer. I do WordPress things. I have a small agency called Concierge WP, and I teach and speak at conferences regarding WordPress. That's why I'm here, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly why you're here.
You're so smart.
Okay,
so Adam, yeah, perfect. Adam, tell us a little bit about where you started out in WordPress. That's the pickup line, right, Bridget? Is it what you do in WordPress, or would you start in WordPress?
So what do you do with WordPress?
So how I started?
You have to say it like that, or it's not a pickup line.
Yeah, I forgot how the show is. Okay, now I remember.
Because it sounds stupid. It sounds like a pickup line. Like, hey, do you come here often?
Well, you know. So are you a hook or a filter?
Can I get a pull request?
Wow. And there's the line.
she's been working on them. It's been a couple episodes, but she's totally been working on them.
I'm trying to be like Russ. You know, we got to get some funny ridiculousness in here. Yeah. No, for serious. How did you start on WordPress?
I came into WordPress after spending a month using Joomla for a company that folded after about, I started doing an intranet website using Joomla, and then I was told, don't you work on that project anymore. I'm like, okay, why? And they didn't tell anybody, but then literally a week later, the company laid off almost everybody. From there, I then took a job back in Los Angeles. I lived in Colorado at the time, came back to LA, and had a great job, and got laid off from that 9 months later. There's a trend here.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed a new website for my photography business. I was more of a photographer and photography, video, and web, mostly photography and video. And I needed a new site for the photo side of my life, and because it was old HTML. And I had tinkered with WordPress prior to this happening. And so I kind of came into it just by building my WordPress website, and then slowly but surely other parents in my neighborhood through my kids learned about it, said, hey, can you teach me some stuff or do a site for me? I'm like, sure. And then someone said, you should teach a class at the adult school. And that's the germination of how I started. That's the short version, I guess, or in essence, that's what I did. So yeah, so I really came in as a photographer using WordPress, and now I'm a WordPress person, and I do very little photography. So.
Sweet, dude. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
What kind of brings you to now being a freelancer? Like, what got you there?
5 months ago today, actually. I went back out on my own. I've shared this before on my show as well. I had a day job doing social media and internet marketing for a company. It was a job. I'll say that. It wasn't the best situation at the end of the day as far as overall company culture, I guess, kind of toxic in many ways. So after I did my time, and it caught us back up financially, I left. And so I didn't just leave and say, I'm going to go become a WordPress developer and run a small agency and run concierge. It took 3.5, 4 years to get to the point where we had enough money in savings, so I can do this. And it's been 5 months. It's, it's up and down. It has it's not easy by any stretch. And I share this freely with anyone who wants to know. So, and then my wife, ironically, also just recently left her job, and she's out of state right now training for her new career as well. So she'll be back in 2 more weeks. She's been gone for 2 weeks. She has 2 more weeks to go. So it's a big financial hit for us. This time last year, things were way different. Right now, kids are eating a lot of ramen. We're trying to save it. None. But they love ramen. I can't do ramen anymore. Not since
not since college. It's not happening.
No more ramen, no more tequila.
I'm done.
Yeah. So Yeah. So anyway, it's life is interesting right now. I mean, to say the least. It's I'm trying to hustle, and I go to a co-working space. I can work from home, and I have a studio here in an office, but it's the house. It's distracting. So I do invest in not being at home usually Monday through Friday for about 6 hours a day. So yeah,
that's tough being at home. I know that's not the subject for today, but working at home is super duper tough, especially when you have kids, especially when you have all the things that are going on around you and trying to focus.
Yeah.
It's
Dude,
ridiculous.
working from home without kids is still hard because you see all of the chores that you haven't done.
Yeah.
They're all over the place.
Well, I know. I can tell you when I wasn't working, before I was had the full-time job, the last job, my wife would come home and be upset because she'd go upstairs and change clothes, and the first thing she would see down the hallway was the kids' bathroom and these 3 hooks that were not replaced. We took them off. There's 3 holes in the wall, but I came downstairs. I never went back upstairs for the day. There was no reason to. So she'd come home and see that and just like right away, like just kind of upset her. So what we do now is we actually have a whiteboard behind our front door. We actually have a piece of melamine that just becomes a whiteboard. Big, huge piece. It's literally probably it's probably 5 feet by 3 feet, and that I can honestly say has helped save a marriage because if it goes on the board, it gets done. The kid that's our itinerary for the day, what's going on, pickups, drop-offs, to-dos, honey-dos for everybody. Look at the board because then I'll see it, and it doesn't come off. We don't erase it until it's done. So it's just a reminder every day. So as annoying as that may be, but it's a great thing because otherwise you just don't. I did not want to fix the holes. I just didn't think about them for the day, ever.
So that one of the reasons why I started WP Watercooler and started, and then later on started WPblab is the idea that I wanted to have a way for people to know me, and then at some point want to say, he's great at blah blah blah, and I want to give him money to do X, Y, and Z for me. And this is the way it started, and then it ended up where I was like, well, I got a job about a month later. And I did a full-time job, so I didn't even need to do this sort of thing anymore. But I'm doing this more as a passion project than anything else. And so by looking at this, I thought, okay, well, I can definitely start a podcast. I could definitely start, I've done multiple podcasts at this point. So it's like, how do I make more money doing this sort of thing by getting more people to know about me and be able to really think, this guy knows his stuff. This might be a good idea to hire him. So how did you take public speaking and turn it into that? You're already doing your podcast, you're doing all this other stuff. So you have an audience, you have a following, you have all of that, but now you're going to events that, people are there wanting to know about you.
I started the podcast because I like to talk, I like to share. I mean, it's true. I'm not going to lie. So my background is I have a degree in theater. And me in front of a camera or me talking technology in some capacity, me teaching, I really do. So when I started teaching the class at the local adult school, that's my stage. But before that, I had the podcast. I think I had the podcast before that, maybe the same time. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the calendar. And I remember I went to a word camp. I'll tell you how I started speaking. I went to a word camp. I saw someone speak who we all know. And I thought, I can do that. And I was hooked. Like, that's going to be what I'm going to do, in a couple years from now. I didn't know exactly what I would talk about or how I would do it, but I knew I was going to do that. I was gung-ho from day one from a word camp, Orange County, is where the first camp I went to, 2011, maybe 2012. And then from there, the speaking in front of the class, I was nervous. I did it. And then I remember my first ever talk at WordCamp LA. I was really nervous. And again, I have a degree in theater. Why would I be nervous? Because it wasn't so much as who's going to be in the audience.
Yeah.
I was more nervous about the other speakers, my quote peers. Like all of a sudden I'm a WordCamp speaker. Oh. And then again, you think about it like, okay, it's just WordCamp. It's a different thing. It's not a TEDx talk. It's not a TED talk, not a TEDx talk. No offense to what we all do. We put in a lot of time. And over the time, I love doing it. And teaching a class in person isn't scalable versus doing one online. But I'd rather have the energy of 15 people than the money of, this might be hard to say now that I'm almost broke. No, I could have a much bigger audience teaching a class online versus in person, but I like the in-person interaction.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that answered your question, but
No, I mean, because all roads lead to where you're at now. So
Yeah.
you had to go through all this stuff to get to where you're at. So
yeah,
because of the fact that you're doing theater and all that sort of thing, that plays in heavily into doing podcasting. That plays heavily into public speaking. What are those skills that you've taken from the or from the theater type work into your public speaking?
I'm very fortunate that I'm not afraid of speaking. I mean, for one, I mean, someone just said that they get hives. Cheryl, who I know Cheryl and her sister, Sherry. I don't worry. I'm not really overly concerned when I speak. I just do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I also have I guess it's a gift. Some of my family members may not agree that I am somewhat sarcastic and maybe, humorous. That's my style of speaking. And I can make fun of myself, but I give real world examples on how things work in my experience with them, whatever the topic may be. When I've spoken about photography, when I've spoken about technology, best practices, and I'm also pretty good at seeing the questions that's not being asked.
Right.
And what I mean by that is I've seen some really good speakers completely miss the mark because people don't want to ask that question. People are afraid of public speaking. People don't even want to raise their hand and say, hey, I have a question. I'm not embarrassed almost ever. I will ask if I know Jason's talking, I'll say, hey, and we know each other, I'm going to ask you a softball because I know someone else in the room was afraid to ask.
Yeah, like what's the difference between front end and back end?
Whoa, hey,
somebody has to take one for the team. Right. I'm just saying. No, I'm like you, and I did that in a meetup once because I as soon as I asked, a bunch of people said, I was wondering that too.
Yeah, I was at a meetup in LA 4 or 5 years ago, and someone was speaking about I know who it was, what it was, and she's a good friend now, and she's awesome. They were talking about, they just jumped right into the talk about why you would take Photoshop and slice it up and make that into a WordPress theme. And the room was heavy in the senior level of age, probably late 50s, early 60s, or maybe mid 60s and up. And there was like a uncomfortable moment where they just don't know, why would you do this? So I just blurted out, I'm like, so you would do this because you want a custom theme. You work with a designer, you give it to a coder, you break it up. And then she said, yes. Mm-hmm. Everyone said, oh.
Yeah.
So if you just preface it with that, it breaks away a lot of, of that confusion, of that, that fear of asking the question. So, yeah. Well, I like helping people.
Sometimes we just are so immersed in our world, we forget.
Right.
We're going to it with a lot of presumptions.
Right. I mean, I'm not the best developer. I'm not the best designer. And I've been told this by a good friend. She's a fan of the show, my show. She's a fan of my teaching. And I told her, I go, hey, Serena, she keeps pitching me to places to teach, on Creative Live, up at General Assembly. She's like almost like my mini agent. And I'm like, I'm not the best of these. She goes, oh, I know. I'm like, what? That's kind of rude. She goes, no, but you're a really good teacher. Because a pure designer is going to be a little too out there potentially. A pure developer is going to be maybe too technical.
Yeah.
I bridge the two.
So that's an interesting segue, and I'm going to ask this because I know how I feel about this question. When you're at a WordCamp, when you're in front of an adult school class, mm-hmm. there's a live audience. Do you feel that there's a difference between a live audience and just recording to nobody?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it'd be crazy to say no, but yeah, I mean, I think having that feedback, the immediacy of somebody talking back to me or asking a question or getting it, or dozing, to be truthful, technology can be slightly dry. A lot of times you do a class 2 hours at night at 6 o'clock at night, or or 7 to 9. The last one I used to do, people come in after work, after dinner. And if they sit in the back and they close their eyes, I don't take it personally. It happens. It happens at camps. I've been guilty of dozing a little bit at a conference. You're sleepy, especially after lunch, right? That doesn't happen. I don't know if I do know people fall asleep to my show. My daughter has told me she has. So she's like, it's my voice. It helps her when she can't sleep because she's stressed. She'll queue up a podcast and she'll, help her fall asleep. I'm like, great. At least I'm helping somehow,
Yeah, I just think that it's different if you're teaching a class that's hosted online. Like even Gary Vaynerchuk's Ask Gary V, I noticed that after a while he started having a whole entourage in his room, and you could see him looking to see for the immediate feedback.
Yeah.
You know, there's that style of teaching. I am way better in a room of people.
Yeah.
Than, for me personally, than if I'm just by myself.
Well, I mean, there's teaching live in person. There's teaching on an online course that it's drip content, and then it could be a live, like a webinar. And so the webinar would be like the live online version. And I don't know if I'd want to do that because
you were talking about scaling. That's what scales.
Right. Well, yeah, totally, it does. But doing a live webinar, I think, is it can be useful, but I think there's a lot that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live video. Yeah.
Right. So
we don't know anything about that stuff.
I'd rather do a live webinar as a seminar to get people interested in taking a class, signing up for a class, and then having access. Let's say you have 15 or 20 students, and they get drip content for 5 weeks, every week for a couple of pieces of the video, and maybe on a Friday, then we do a live hangout to ask questions, just the group. I've thought about all this recently because I have a class coming up, hopefully in a couple 20 days if I have enough students. I'm no longer teaching through the adult school because then I went on my own. It didn't make sense to do that for the hourly they used to give me. It makes more sense now for me to do my own space somewhere and charge per student. So yeah, I'm just trying, but then I have to market it. I have to do all that stuff. So it's a little different, it's hard.
So did you have trouble finding the venue for that?
I did. I called hotels. I've called schools, so I'm using the SBDC, Small Business Development Center in Hawthorne. And based on the time and what's available, that's also part of the cost, but they've given me a pretty good deal because I have been a speaker there once a month for the past 2 years, doing a seminar that was free. Now it's $10 for people to attend. I don't get paid for it at all, actually. I just donate my 90 minutes because I love doing it. And then people join my meetup or people take my class or people hire me, one of the three, So
what are the ways that people find those particular classes and events and things? Like, how are you promoting that stuff? And are you promoting that stuff in your public speaking that you're doing outside of that realm? Because now that you're kind of describing the type of work that you're doing now, it's almost like it isn't. Everything is your freelance job. You're doing all of these things, and so they're all cross promoting nonstop. Right. At least I hope they are. So how are people finding you at one point? Like, if they're totally new to you, where are they finding you?
It depends. I mean, it depends on how they found me originally. But typically, people find me at the Meetup or on Meetup.com. I think that's probably one of the biggest ways, and then the podcast, maybe one of those two ways. I've been really bad at self-promoting my own stuff, my own courses. When I was through the adult school, they did the catalog, they did the online version, so it was a little easier. I could put it out on Twitter and Facebook a few times, but they would get the students. I'm not the best salesperson of me, which has always been to my detriment. I guess it goes back to the topic we've talked about, or you guys have talked about, the imposter syndrome, right? And I don't want to bother people. I don't want to bug people. So, but that said, I have some Facebook ads running right now. I'm using Ad Espresso, pretty targeted, but I think I did it incorrectly. I'm going to probably pull it tomorrow and reevaluate it and redo it. Yeah. 2 weeks for free.
You got to play with it, yeah.
They do all the A/B split stuff, and it still would be worth the $50 a month for the level I need because, the cost of acquisition might be, so $50 a month plus, let's say, $10 per student, still doable.
You can advertise within an X amount of radius of a certain city.
That's what I'm doing.
Hawthorne.
Right. I'm doing 25 miles of my area. Yeah.
You could do people that are interested in tech. If you have an email list, you can upload that and do a lookalike audience.
Oh yeah, I'm doing all. And what Ad Espresso does for you, it makes it a little easier than it just directly through the Power Editor. Is it creates, if you're doing some split testing, kind of the variations of text and graphics. So I'm trying it out. It's free for me.
Also, don't forget that. Sorry.
It's okay.
Facebook doesn't want more than 20% of text in the image.
Yeah.
And even if you use their overlay tool, this is what we found, Jason and I, that even if you use their overlay tool and they say it's okay, that doesn't mean they're going to deliver it.
Yeah.
So at work, we've been trying to go away from any text on the image. So, but that's a side note. So Facebook advertising is a pain in the ass, but sometimes Twitter could be better. Twitter can be a little bit cheaper. You might want to try that also. Yeah. But here's the thing, Adam. For the people in our audience who know that they have something valuable to teach, what is their first step if they want to talk at a WordCamp?
If they want to talk at a WordCamp and they have something valuable to teach, I would say pitch it to a local meetup. I mean, because that's technically meetups. I mean, WordCamps come from the meetup. That's usually the lineage, right? That's kind of how it works. It's a WordCamp of the city or of an area is the big meetup of the year.
Yeah.
Right. But I would definitely say reach out to your local meetup person, organizer, and see if you can talk. Many camps, many meetups want speakers. I'm open to it. I'm open to it to a point because I run the local meetup here in the South Bay. So I also do my monthly talk there. And I was always asking for people to speak, but people don't want to speak.
I know. We're having trouble with our women's group. Like, we're running through the list like, oh, I don't want to. Yeah.
So I would start at the meetup level first. From there, do that do it at least once. Make sure you're comfortable. Make sure you kind of have your ducks in a row. It depends on how comfortable you are speaking. From there, depends on the topic. You could then go to a chamber or a Kiwanis, Rotary. You can do a social group that way. There's plenty of places to do it. Ironically enough, I just pitched all of the local chambers in my area about my class this morning in the email. And there's a business expo coming up in the city of Hawthorne, which I saw a name that I recognized, the woman who runs the SBDC. She's a speaker. So I said, hey, by chance, do you have a contact if they need any speakers? Someone dropped out today. I'm in. So that's in March. So March 22nd, right before WordCamp San Diego, I think I'll be speaking here, doing a 30-minute session, either on podcasting or on WordPress. I forgot the topic. I don't know what my title was. It's a good title. Hold on. I got to tell you what it is.
Like I spent 3 minutes coming up with that title.
No, not that long. Not that long. Oh yeah, it's called The Proper Care and Feeding of Your WordPress, your website for 2017 and beyond.
Nice. Oh, good. Nice segue. So how do you let your people know that you speak?
Twitter, Facebook, social media.
Are you archiving any of that on your WordPress web property?
You have a rad website that tells people that you're live streaming though, right?
No. I know the thing is, so my podcast also.
I used to have that like adamispeaking.com or
yeah, so
Adam is live.
Adamislive.com. I do that when I'm at a conference. Yes, I do. Okay. I do that. It's funny. I don't even share. This is terrible, and you guys are gonna like laugh at me. I don't share my podcast episodes. Like I record on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depends on what my topic is. Show comes out every Monday. I'm at 153. I wake up in the morning and I tweet and I do the social shares in real time about 7:30 in the morning Pacific, just because I don't want to schedule that because I have to go and create the pretty link, just the basics. I share that on the Kitchen Sink Facebook page, Twitter, etc. And I for those brands, and then Adam Silver, my personal one, I reshare that way. I almost never. I'm almost gonna say I've never shared the podcast on my personal Facebook page.
Wow. What? Dude, my mom's like, I don't know what this WordPress thing is, but man, you do a lot of it.
Yeah.
Well, my mom listens to my show.
Well, I know my mom right now is not watching this. I can guarantee you. She just looked at this and goes, I don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And even in my class, I just put it on my class recently. My class was on my page. I'll say, I think if we looked at my Facebook page, it probably says something to the effect of, like, in case you missed it, the acronym, and my class is starting up again. But I'm so on sharing that on my personal life. I don't know.
Speaker portfolio on your website.
Oh, I have an About Me page
that has like links to your talks.
No.
Oh, come on, Adam.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the truth. You
need to hire a web developer. That's what you need to hire. A web developer and a social media manager.
Every time you have to sign up, like I've applied to speak a couple of times now, and you have to submit your bio.
Oh, I save all those in Evernote. I have an Evernote folder.
Why would you have it on Evernote?
Well, good. I'm so glad it's on your
website.
Okay, here's the thing.
Don't do what Adam does. Listen, people, make a portfolio about you.
I do own Adam Silver. I do own adamsilver.com. I have considered this year relaunching that as far as a speaker page and like what I do. And here's a home base of the things I do. My site.
My talk is up. I'm doing that for myself.
Here's the thing. The minute my site went live for Kitchen Sink WP, it went live. It had to be live by that WordCamp that I spoke at, the first WordCamp, because it was in my bio. It said his latest project is Kitchen Sink WP. So it had to go live. I designed it. I built it. It's done. And the minute it went live, like anything else, it's like, your own thing, you don't like it. I haven't liked it since, but it works. It's functional. It's long in the tooth. It's not responsive. All the things that it should be, it isn't, because it's my own. Because, you do paid work, look for paid work, do your own stuff is way down here.
You're missing
Right.
so much SEO on that, though.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, but so it's this year, it's been on my calendar for like a year. This first quarter, ideally, I will revamp the site. And yeah, just clean it up.
Don't make it that big of a goal. Just do one page that has your.
Well, my goal is really, I'm going to bring it, I'll do it locally, and like I can just push it out. I just want to make sure nothing breaks. That's always a fear, when you're doing stuff, and, in the podcasting side, it's like, I don't want anything to break, especially if I bring it local and push it back out,
So Adam, I have something you could try. You could totally do it. It'd take you 10 minutes to do it, and you'd be good to go.
Okay.
So if you use Feed WordPress, the plugin, install that on your Adam Silver site, and then put in the RSS feed for all the different shows that you have, like just all the RSS feeds, and then have that ingested into your website. There's a little thing on there you can click on that says, it's a little checkbox that says, link this post to the external link instead of the internal link that's on your website. And what happens is somebody will go on your website, do a search for some topic that you did on your show, and they'll actually get a link that goes over to Kitchen Sink WP.
Oh, so you mean do this on adamsilver.com?
Yep.
If and when that ever goes.
Yep. It would take you 5 minutes to do it. Okay. And
I just bookmarked it. I'll take a look at it. Yeah. So yeah, it's those things. We all have things to do, but right now my big thing is I spend a chunk of my day lately prospecting, trying to set up appointments for the future, so I can then I have one now for Tuesday with somebody that is trying to get some work done. So hopefully I can get her. She was one of my students. Now she's ready to hire somebody. So yeah, it's tough. It's finding the work, being consistent, having this consistent income. It's different now. Teaching, it's like you said, Jason, I wear all the hats.
You wear all the hats.
Yeah.
Yep. It's really hard to promote your own stuff. You and I have the exact same problem where you probably hate doing job interviews, right?
Oh, can't stand them.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. I hate first dates. I hate
first dates. My wife hates me going on first dates.
I know, right?
But I'm one of those people that hates first dates. I hate doing the interviews. I hate all those things, but I love interviewing other people.
Oh yeah.
I love hearing about somebody else's first date. Like I enjoy all of the other stuff that has nothing.
I asked a guy today at lunch. We had lunch with another Adam actually at WeWork. I was fascinated. I'm always fascinated by people's stories. Like, how did he meet his wife? She's from Czechoslovakia. I love interviewing. That's why I have my show. That's why Kyle and I have another show. And my third show, which should be out this month, which it's on the board behind me. Can you see the board behind me? Yeah, you can.
Oh yeah.
You can't tell what it is.
The password is right there in the upper hand corner though.
Well, just password 1 2 3 4 5. But I finally this morning thought of the overall logo for the new show. So now I can build the site.
Nice.
and the cover art. I now know what it's going to be. And actually, Jason, I think you were at the Unaccompanied Picnic when we talked about it.
Yep.
Like 3 years ago.
I know it's finally making its way out to.
It's going to be out finally. It's going to, and I have a list of people to interview. So can I say the show? What it is going to be?
Of course, go for it.
So it's going to be it's called It's Not a Hobby.
Nice. I remember this.
Yeah, and the basic germination on this was when I was doing more video work and photography. People would call me up all the time, how much you charge for this and that? And I would give a price, and they say, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. I did then call my friend Craig back in Colorado. He was in Fort Collins. I was in Longmont. And we would commiserate or kind of complain together. And the end of the conversation, it's like, what are they thinking? I need to make money. It's not a hobby. That's where it comes from. So, right? So the goal behind this is to get people's stories who have pivoted, if you will, from, let's say they went to law school or they did something on the side and they started charging for it. It's not a hobby. They make money doing this now. I want that story, half hour. I want those stories. So if people want to know, they can go get itsnotahobby.com. You can sign up, send me an email to the Kitchen Sink account or a concierge. I'm interested in having a queue of interviews ready to go. So not a hard show. I have people interested, and I have sponsors lining up as well. I'm fortunate that you said earlier, I have an audience. So I have people now interested in being a part of this, I guess, which is kind of cool, that's part of another revenue stream is the fact that I can get sponsors for my shows. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And much easier getting much easier work. Great work if you can get it, doing a 30-second read or having an insert versus doing a site for somebody that can take months, that kind of thing. Much easier. So I'll take sponsors all day long.
Awesome.
Most of the time.
So we've talked about your public speaking. We've talked about your podcast. We've talked about your kids falling asleep to you podcasting. We've talked about all those sorts of things. So like what are the things that you're trying to do that tie all these pieces together? I mean, we were talking about your website and kind of using that as a way of tying this stuff together, but I still haven't heard you say anything about like actually cross promoting this stuff between the various channels. So like when you're in your class, are you saying like, oh, so by the way, I do this show, it's called, Kitchen Sink WP. I run this concierge service. I do this and this. Like, how do you do that? And how do you do it so you don't feel like you're alienating everybody? So you're like, oh, so thanks for paying the $250 or whatever it is for this particular class.
So I can tell you. So when I taught it to the adult school, it was one of the best deals in town. I'm gonna be modest about it because they had access to me for 5 weeks. Plus they had access to my server. I gave them subdomain access to a server, to their own space for 10 weeks, 5 and 5.
Nice.
They could not hire me for those 5 weeks, period. So, and I was very clear about it. I'm like, look, and these are the services and tools and resources I use. And on the every class got its own website. WPE, whatever it was. Everyone had its own, like spring 2016, summer 2015. Everyone got their own. And I put the class notes would go there every week. And the day after the class was on Wednesday, so by Friday notes would go there. They could ask questions. Full access to me for 5 weeks. Can't hire me. 5 weeks and 1 minute. I'm available for purchase. I'm available for hire. Rephrase that, for hire.
So you don't feel like you're double dipping at that point. Like you're saying, don't hire me because you can't. And by the way, you're here to learn from me, so I'm going to teach you. And then
I was
you give up and you can hire me.
I was very clear. I had to be clear because there was a student, a woman. She came in and she sent an email over the weekend. This was probably the second session I ever taught the class, like 4 years ago, to the administrators and CC'd me on it, which was very weird. She was unhappy. She's like, I thought WordPress was going to be easy and free, and Adam's pitching all these other things he's using, and it seems like hard. And I was really taken aback. So best advice I got from a few people in the community was, do not reply to the email. Take a few days. And I did. I waited about Tuesday. The school called me up and they said, we got this email. I go, yeah, I know. I got CC. They go, oh, we didn't even notice that. And I had thought about it for a few days, and I figured out, well, these are the resources I use because these are what I know at the time. I was using Headway. I was using this HostGator. All these, right? These are the things I use. And this is why I teach this, because what I know. We don't know 2,000 themes. We don't know at the time 35,000 plugins. Here's the handful of stuff I know. So from that point on, I was always very clear at the beginning of every class, like, look, you can't hire me, and these are the resources I use and know and trust. But there are others out there that may be free or less expensive or more expensive. That was for that class, at the RBUSD, right? Redondo Beach Unified. Now, when I teach the class, the seminar, the 90-minute seminar that I do, I'm very clear that I'm not getting paid to be there. And I'm very clear that, but because I'm there for free on my dime, if they want my notes, I need their email address. And they give it to me. They sign up, they go double opt in, then I can market to them. They want to opt out, they opt out. No hard feelings. No one ever does at the moment, really. People opt in, they get my notes, and then I can market to them during the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, my class. They get the emails, yes. The podcast is still the hard part. I mean, I know I own Concierge WP. It's my company, right? Mm-hmm. My service. But in my podcast, it's Kitchen Sink WP. So I insert I sponsor my show once a month on Typical. If you don't know, you don't know. If you do know, you do know.
Dradcast used to do that. They used to, their whole show is sponsored by the two of them. So I get it. And it's, how else can you, like for us, how it's really hard to start doing advertisements if you didn't do it at the very beginning. Right. And you're doing it at the very beginning. You're like, my kid's sponsoring this episode, my wife's sponsoring this other episode, all that sort of thing.
I said no for the first 100 episodes. I had offers all the time. I said no because I really wanted to make sure that my audience trusted me and my opinion and my experience. Yeah. So, and I've been offered stuff since, and I've still said no. There's a couple companies out there, some bigger hosting conglomerates, that would be extremely hypocritical for me to take their money. And I had dinner with one at WordCamp, at WordCamp US. Sat right next to him. It was a great dinner. Loved the people, but overall, it's just a matter of this show, Kitchen Sink, cannot take that.
Yeah.
The other shows could. Different audiences.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't built a, you know, there's a different audience there, especially for it's not a hobby, completely different audience. It's a more business-based audience anyways. So, yeah. And then the insert I do for like a concierge, I wrote the script. My wife did the voiceover for it. Sounds clean. You know, it works out pretty well. But I have sponsors now for, you know, I just booked another sponsor yesterday for this month for Kitchen Sink. Like I said, it has to match the audience, has to match the need, and I have to really believe in the product, you know, and then no smoke, no cigarettes, no drugs, no alcohol, as far as the sponsor goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I drink and smoke and by cut. No, I'm kidding.
So diverting away from your vices to another sort of addiction. So you travel a lot to speak at work camps.
I do.
As a person who's doing that, how do you justify it, the cost?
So 2 years ago, 2015, 2016, were very, very travel intensive years for me. It was a conscious decision and a discussion I had with my wife and an investment that we made together as a financial, you know, to go to these camps. She saw I think what it came down to was this. I really love the community, for one, as you guys know. I really like to share and speak, for number two. My wife saw those two things finally coming together in a pursuit and a passion that I have, you know, in the technology sector. Because I was trying to do a whole bunch of other little businesses and this and that. And based on that, and based on the passion and what I was doing, even locally, she saw it. She saw the long play, the potential, which is an investment. So that's how we justified it. You know, it was simple. It's that simple. Yeah, it's all out of pocket. And I remember even talking to Chris Lemma about it. The fact that when he was on my show, he was on episode 52. You know, there were talks, but before I knew who he was, and kind of before I knew you, Jason, you know, there's this thing like, well, Chris Lemma, he's on the speaking circuit, you know, and I've heard it back now towards me. It's interesting, you know. Yes, is there a speaking circuit in the WordPress? Sure, if you want to call it that, sure. But we all pay our own way. It's not like I'm being paid to speak. I'm not being paid.
Yeah, you're not Ted Rubin.
Right. The only thing.
I mean, no offense.
I don't know who that is. So.
Gary V. Ted Rubin.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I get for free, typically now, out of attending an out-of-state camp, is a place to stay, often because of community, you know, or a hosting company who I like. A2 is a good friend of mine. I know the companies, and then we get fed for free usually. You know, I mean, instead of spending, I don't have to pay for 3 meals a day. I usually pay for maybe 1 meal a day tops, if that, because again, camp covers stuff, you know, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's an investment in, obviously, it's also, it's a big investment in time, not just time, but being time away from the family. So it's a sacrifice, not an investment. It's a sacrifice.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, you know, and also I got really tired because we have so little camps on the West Coast. So I got tired of flying east, landing, speaking, leave the next day. So now I go a day or two before, which I can afford to, which is much nicer. But that's also a sacrifice with the kids. So, I mean, my kids are older for the most part, so it's not as bad as it used to be. Like 2 years ago, even 2 years later, it's a big difference. And now I mentioned off before we hit record, my wife's new career will actually benefit me speaking. Not maybe this year, but maybe next year again. This year might be a much lighter year. I'm expecting. She's going to be a flight attendant, so I'll have I'll be able to fly for free. Woo.
So if your wife isn't a flight attendant, did you like have a credit card with miles? Did you have any tricky tips?
Book early, you know. So yeah, I didn't have a credit card for 7 years, either a company card or a personal card, because we got into trouble years ago. The economy it is what it is. I was really nervous getting a card again, but we did it because might as well get something out of it as far as the travel goes. And, you know, new washer and dryer, a couple of the bigger purchases. As long as we had the money, we would buy X and credit card and pay it right off. I don't carry a balance, period. I'm a Dave Ramsey fan in that sense. You know, we have no debt, no credit card debt. You know, we have a credit card balance every month, but it's paid right off. If I know I can't, you know, it's cash. It's that.
Right.
And based on all the travel we did, and based on some of the bigger purchases we had to make in the last years, we went to Costa Rica, the 5 of us, plus to another family of 4, plus Kyle and Ashley from. We had a house we had gotten through an auction. My wife's old nonprofit that she used to work for. That's where the surfboard came from. We had gotten this house that's up 20 people. So, you know, 11 of us went. We went on miles. It was awesome.
Wow.
So we had to pay the taxes of it. Funny story, we paid the taxes to get there on Southwest. It was 4 tickets were free plus taxes, and then 1 ticket we had to pay for, not enough points. But on the way back, the plane was 6 hours late getting there. So we get back, I put in a request to Southwest per the gate agent. We have $750 credit back on Southwest.
Wow.
Nice.
Yes, a little travel hack. Yeah. So, it's but no credit card debt. That's the key. If you can't really afford to go, don't go, people. Don't go out of your way. Don't go crazy with it. There's other ways to get involved. Live streams, some camps do that, right? So
yeah, and it either comes free with it, or you can still get a t-shirt. Those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Bridget, you've attended tons of WordCamps by not actually going.
Right.
Well, I mean, I would say tons, but I did watch Europe and US, the first US live stream, some of Miami on live stream.
Yeah.
But there's a lot you can learn. I mean, that's on the receiving end of the speaking. But if you want the exposure, I mean, you have to get involved. You have to get involved and do the work. So,
yeah.
People are like teasing me because I'm like, oh, I really need to get my slides done. And I don't roll like you people and do them on the plane. I want to get it straight in my head, then write my outline and do my slide. I would like to do talks with no slides.
Oh, so would we.
Yeah. So because the slides make it more like I could get up in front of anybody, say anything, no problem. In fact, I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and I did get spontaneously pulled in to teach something. But the thing is, like, slides are a logistical challenge, right? And so, like, I made my font like 46 point, do you have any like slide tips?
Oh, totally.
Because the thing is, like, it's one thing to teach, but then if there's people who wear reading glasses in your audience, they cannot see your 12-point font. Okay.
So there's an old rule, and I just told this to my meetup last month. We had Tyler Morant, who's another guy at WeWork with me. He's an attorney. He came and spoke about legalities and running your own business. Great talk. His slides, and I gave him the constructive criticism after we were done cleaning up. 2 things. One, a lot less text. You don't want to. You can't read that much text on a slide, no matter where you're speaking, even at a meetup or at at a camp. Just cut the text minimum by half for one. Have more slides if you need to. Have a keyword so you can talk to it, not talk at the slide. Don't turn your back. Number 2, take the age. I think is at the oldest person in your audience. Double that number, and that's your font size.
Well, I don't know if that's going to be possible.
Well,
144.
Yeah.
It's this big. When it's one word a slide.
And it just says 1, next slide 4, next slide 4.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I mean, it's an exaggeration, but yeah, you can't go wrong with a bigger size font. Something clean, nothing fancy. Just because you can use 30 fonts on a slide, just back in the days of PageMaker, yes, I'm that old from Aldous PageMaker, doesn't mean you should use 30 fonts on a page. Okay. So keep it clean, keep it simple. Images are great to make the point. Maybe in your presenter notes, if it works for you on the bottom, you can see what you're going to speak at, but you should know your content, of course,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You script it out, or you go, or do you know what you're going to say?
Well, it depends on my topic, but yeah, like I can tell you, I've had a couple really good talks, surprisingly good from myself, my perspective, and I've had 1 or 2 fairly bad last year I went to 9 camps. The year before that I went to 10. Plus I spoke, so the worst camp that I went to for me personally was WordCamp Denver 2 years ago. And only because A, my laptop died and I wasn't done with my presentation. And B, it was a brand new presentation for me, brand new topic. And so I was nervous about it in general. And it wasn't a demo. It wasn't showing, themes and child themes. It was talking about community and technology and trust and all this thing. So, and then it was me. So I wasn't pleased with any of that. I did the same talk at WordCamp Columbus a month later. Knocked it out of the park because I had a month to figure it out.
Yeah.
And my laptop was fixed, truth be told. I did the talk. We went to WordCamp Maui, Greg Franklin and I, back in 2014, and we did a beginner day. Great turnout, great camp. It's Maui. Took my wife. We had a great time. I was there for vacation. Greg and I did the same thing. We did the same track. Greg Franklin, myself, Catherine Pressner from Automatic, at WordCamp Orange County that next year. and I bombed. I just was caught. I didn't feel good at all because I just different group, different everything, different room. I thought, oh, we did great in Hawaii. We'll do the same thing. Yeah, not so much. You have to prepare. You got to re-prepare each time and really take it in and look at your notes and know your stuff. And I phoned it in. I felt terrible. Really did. So I spoke last year at OC, and I was like, I applied, and I was afraid I wasn't going to get called. Like, I hope they call me back because I messed up the year before. But I did a podcasting talk, but it was more of a it was a conversation. It was great. Had a great time. I did a 2-hour talk with people there, so it was awesome. We make mistakes. The key is to learn from them and move on.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I tell people all the time, especially the podcasting. People ask me a lot, what do I need to podcast? I only have 50 downloads a week. And I tell people right away, I go, that's great. Imagine a room filled with 50 chairs. Listening to you speak for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, or however long you talk. That has impact. They go, oh yeah. But the number seems small. Like they're 50 downloads a week. They ask me how many I have. And I tell them, and they're like, wow, like didn't happen overnight. It took me, 153 episodes.
Yeah. And they're comparing it to, to all these shows that are like, not even shows. It's like, this is me putting on my makeup and I have 9.8 million people that are watching me put on makeup or something like that. Like those are the types of shows that are getting all of that stuff. Those YouTube channels, those podcasts. It's all about that sort of thing. And if you're somebody who's trying to, if you think about it, especially with WordPress, you have such a niche market that's there that you're dealing with. And then to top it off, you also have that barrier of entry of you either need to be somebody who watches YouTube videos and have the time to actually watch a YouTube video. And you also have to have the time to listen to a podcast.
Right.
So if you don't have those two things and you're too busy, getting your hustle on to try to get sales and whatever, then that might not be the best podcast for you to be doing if you're expecting to get tons of people watching it.
Right.
But also it's who listens. Like we always forget we obsess over the numbers. We forget that the right person listening to the right thing at the right time.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, I started my podcast because I knew I wanted to speak. I went to iTunes. This is at least, I don't know, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I went to iTunes and I typed in WordPress. I'm like, I wonder, because I listened to a ton of podcasts. Back then, it was mostly photography stuff and business and motivation, right? And it's now completely switched. Replace photography with WordPress or technology, and I found one, and it was Dustin Hartzler. He's one of my good friend of mine. Talk to him all the time. He works for Automatic now. And listened to a show. It was because it was current. Some other shows had already pod faded, after whatever episodes. Number 7 is always the number they say if you can't make it past episode 7. So I'm listening to a show, and he puts the word out on his show saying that he was looking for other developers to interview about the tools we use. So I sent an email. I'm like, hey, I'll be on your show. He reached out. He's like, yeah, great. I was really nervous doing it. First time I was on someone else's show. And then, lo and behold, I didn't realize how fast it would come out. Like, so I'm at the track. Some of you guys know I run. I'm at the track,
betting,
running. like probably 4 days later, 3 to 4 days later, whenever it was. The next time his show came out. His show comes out on Tuesdays, so it was on a Tuesday. And all of a sudden, it's in the queue. It just starts playing. When his show starts up, and I hear me. I'm like, whoa! It just blew me away. And I rarely listen. I don't listen to any of my own shows. Actually, I really don't. But I listened to that one because it was pretty surreal. But from that point, Dustin and I slowly became friends. And he reached out. He kept saying, "You should do your podcast." I mentioned I want to do one day. He's like, "You should do it." And he pestered me for 6 months. You do your show. You do your show. Do your show. And he has a show. He has probably the most popular WordPress show because it's the longest. Sometimes you get that because of just if you've been around longest. Other shows have come and gone, right? WP Candy. I mean, all the others.
You want to tell people what it's called, friend? Your website.
Oh, your website engineer. Your website engineer.
Thanks.
Yeah. With Dustin Hartzler, and he works on Automatic on the Woo team now. I talked to him today, actually.
I met him in Cincinnati.
That's right. You did. That's right. Yeah. So I've stayed at his house. We met in person in Vegas at New Media Expo. He's been a good friend, been very supportive. And again, we talk about similar things, but we have different voices, and different ways of approaching certain things. And sometimes I'll hear one of his podcasts. I'm like, oh, that was a good idea. I should have done that. And I won't do it right away just because there's no reason to saturate the market with the same topic, the same kind of thing. We both have the difficulty of having a show around a technology in an audio format.
Yeah, that's visual.
It's visual, right? So it's code, you know. And so I keep my show. And the number one reason I hear about my show people like the most is it's nice and short. It's 15 minutes.
Yeah, I like it. It's not
in and
this
out.
hour-and-a-half monstrosity.
Your words, not mine, lady. No.
No, I love this for being on it because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
But as far as like listening, there's another one I listened to called Wonderland. It's over now. It's from a book. Like he has a book and then he made it in a podcast. That was 10 minutes.
Right.
You know, I like that. But then I listen to other ones that are an hour and a half. I do love Green Guide Letters. It's just a ridiculous comedy show. But you know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing.
What's weird. That's what's weird about this whole sort of thing is that you have people that watch and listen to WP Watercooler that say, why can't this show be longer? And then you have people that are like, dude, a half an hour is really long. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like a half an hour is really long? And they're like, yeah, I'm like, how do you get less than 10 people to all not talk at the same time more than they are currently, and then be able to also make it so that it's something that you can actually listen to and want to watch or want to whatever.
It's a fine line, and the approach, and then the personalities of multiple people. I mean, my interview shows go for no more than 30 minutes, except if you're one of two people. If you're Chris Lama or if you're Morton, because they had a lot to say. I was curious about this. They had a lot to value-wise. Not that Matt Mullenweg didn't, but I wanted to be respectful of people's time. And honestly, the average commute is 27 minutes. So if I can get a show in and out in 27 minutes for an interview, all the better. So, you know, Matt was episode 48. Lemma was 52. Those are only two, three. I only know a couple of show numbers by heart.
But the 10-minute ones are too short for a bath.
Okay. All right.
I'm just saying,
I'm 6'4". I don't fit in bathtubs. So I can't
so
help
I
you.
like the
You too,
hour
Jason.
and a half. You know,
So I mean, I do listen to one of the longest shows I listen to is actually it's a tech show. It's two shows now. One is Mac Power Users. Max Dave Sparks. He was on my show, and Katie Floyd. They're both attorneys by day and technologists by night. They're awesome. They have a long show, about an hour and a half. And the other show I listen to, it's long also, is it's also on the Relay Network. It's one of the other shows. I can't think of it. Then Clockwise is a half hour. Pretty cool. Yeah, you know, it just depends. It has to. It's kind of like this. In college, I had a professor say, no, it wasn't college. It was after college. I worked for a small newspaper. Write the article that you need to write. Yeah. Don't worry about the length. We could edit from there. Write the piece that has to be written, you know, and then edit it down. I do very little editing on my show. I mean, if any, I clean up the audio a little bit. I take away some longer gaps. Other than that, it goes out. Because again, it's not just a podcast, not just, you know, a WordCamp. It is. It's just those things. It's part of the piece. It's not like I'm being sponsored by NPR or any of those big companies.
Yeah.
No, you're too wild for them. So like when you do give a talk and now there's this giant queue of people, I just mean like they're so like wah 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 wah. It's like that would be good for sleeping. Like just throw on some NPR. Anyway, when you're done speaking and people come up to you, does that happen? And do you have any advice for other people?
What color Sharpie do you use when you sign people's stuff?
No, I'm just saying, like, obviously, I'm trying to ask a question without interjecting my opinion, but clearly I have one.
So the first
like
time,
every episode.
the first time, two things happened when I was at WordCamp Dayton, 2015. I was in the hallway. I'm gonna tell the order of these stories is opposite of how this happened in the order. But the first one was in the hallway talking to somebody. I was off stage. I don't wear the lanyard when I was in a panel. It's great being on a panel for a WordCamp. Easiest prep ever. And I'm talking to somebody, and someone walks right by me, and they stop about 7 feet away. And they turn around, they come back, and they get real close. They go, "Are you Adam Silver?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." They go, "I recognize your voice." That was very surreal. I will tell you for sure. I was like, that was a pretty surreal moment. 20 minutes earlier, right after that panel, I'm in a group of people. People came up and want to say hi to the panel, not just me, but there was 6 or 7 of us. And a couple of people came closer to me. It's 6 or 7 people, so you kind of split up a little bit. You know, you can't, you're a long line. And so a couple groups, probably 2 or 3 groups. And one guy comes up to me and kind of cuts through the semicircle. It's a funny story. And he doesn't remember it the same way as I do, but I do. And he shakes my hand. He gets really close to my face. He goes, "Hi, big fan of your show. Really want to say hi." And he just holds my hand, holds the gaze, and holds my handshake. And I'm thinking to myself, do you like love the show so much you're going to kill me now? Or, and I say, thank you. And it was just an awkward moment. And, and now he is one of my closest friends.
Yep.
So, you know, and, you know, we went to Costa Rica together and it's Kyle Maurer. So, we talk, but I just remember that really vividly. Like, he's like, I love the show. And he's a great guy. He's one of my, seriously, I mean, I wouldn't be such a good friend with him had, you know, he wouldn't have gone to Costa Rica, you know, that kind of thing. So, yeah. And his wife, Ashley, is awesome.
Yeah.
So I love them both. But yeah, so people do recognize me. I've seen what Manny wrote. I get people recognize me. People hear my voice. It's weird. This is what I've learned. I've learned to be gracious, more gracious, and to say thank you. I used to negate my work. People ask this all the time. What do you do? I said, do not negate your work. People say thank you. I like your show. You say thank you.
Right.
Even if they don't, even if they say it in passing, like, hey, nice job on your talk. You do a presentation. Hey, great talk. Whether they meant it or not, say thank you.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you're negating your work, then you're negating their moment of being of giving, right?
100%.
Yeah. So
that's huge, because somebody told me that in a different context, but they said, because they were like complimenting me, and I was like, oh yeah, that's just because you have to say it because you're my friend. They go, no, now you're insulting me, and I'm like, whoa.
Right. It is.
It was a different context. It was just a personal conversation, but there's an aspect of truth to that. And the thing about WordPress is that it is about the community. Mm-hmm. I know it's very popular to have green rooms.
Right. Yeah, and we didn't have one in LA last year.
No.
We won't have one this year either.
I think what's tough for me is when we're running between. I always feel like I'm running between events or running between rooms or trying to do the next thing or whatever, and then somebody stops me and says, "Hey, Jason, I really like your show. Thanks for doing what you do." Blah 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 blah, and I'm like, okay, so how are you doing today?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know what to do, because I mean, my day job is to be interrupted nonstop. That's my day job, is interrupt me all the time because a printer broke in or your iPad's not connecting to the Wi-Fi or whatever it is. And I have to stop whatever it is I'm doing and fix their thing. So when I'm at a WordCamp, I try my best to put me second. Like, I know I'm gonna learn something at some point here, even if I only get to one or two particular talks. But.
Yeah, at this point, I remember I used to go to conferences when I was doing IT consulting and Macintosh consulting years ago, 20 years ago, or in photography. I'd go to those conferences, and I would always go to the conferences. I would rarely do the whole hallway track, what we call it now. Now, you spend so much time. I know so many of the people speaking. I already may know their talk, or at this point, it's more the socializing a little bit, because I think down the line that builds great friendships, which can also build great referrals. You know, if I can't do this, I know who can. Or and then again, from my perspective of what I've kind of, I don't know how to say this. I think people come to me, people respect my opinion on some things now, because I have this audience, this following, right, a little bit, right? So based on that, I then need to pay attention to what is out there, what's going on in the in the ecosystem of plugins and themes, and some of the community. So to go to a talk may not be the best use of my time at the moment, in real time. Maybe go later, watch it back on WordPress.tv, right? It's a toss up. It's tough.
Well, I went to Varys's talk at San Diego because I wanted to be in the audience for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to be in the audience for him at all. No, I'm kidding. I was in there.
No, I mean, there's an aspect of that too. But like for me now, I work at the booth most of the time if we have one.
Right.
So it's a different gig. But I am a teacher by nature, and so I feel like you can always learn something. But at US, I ended up meeting so many people. I got in these giant conversations. And I had the time of my life.
Right.
So I try to plan to go to something, but I'm not going to go to that class. I'm not going to stop a conversation to go to that class.
Right. No, yeah, I'm with you. I was late to a few WordCamp US 2015. And so I was lucky because Chris Wiegman was there doing a talk on WP CLI at US, and then he did a similar talk in Chicago. So I missed the first half at US. I got the first half in Chicago the next year. It was great. And I even asked him, he's like, yeah, it's a similar talk, a couple of updates here and there. I'm like, great. But Yeah, it just depends. I'll look at the list of speakers and what's going on in the talks, and I'll go to the ones I really want to go to. I make a concerted effort to go. But you're right. If I'm in the middle of talking to somebody in the hallway,
Yeah.
I'm doing a much better job. You live in the moment, live there. Enjoy that for what it is.
Yeah.
Luckily, WordCamp US does tape almost all of them, right? So
Yeah,
that's cool.
and they live stream. The other thing is that, and this is how I kind of got my start when I started going to WordCamps in 2013, is live tweeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really shy, and I know nobody believes me anymore. But when I
believe you.
Yeah. So anyway, well, now you're my friends. But like when I went to Cincinnati, I knew 0 people except for Jason, who I went with. I knew 0 people. It was a little bit intimidating and a little bit relief. So, but anyway, when you're live tweeting that speaker, they'll come up to you.
Right.
And say, "Oh, thanks for tweeting." That's how I got to know Mike Hansen from Bluehost, because I was tweeting him.
Right.
So there's an aspect of exposure that you can get from tweeting out quotes from people by being in the room, by dominating the hashtag.
Yep.
So actually, at was it LA? I think LA. I only went to Jacob's class on Flexblocks. Otherwise, I was at the booth. And they were like, "How come you're not tweeting Forgive?" I'm like, "I'm at the booth." So I've decided to go to at least 2 classes a day, because even if I'm working the booth, because that's like my contribution. It elevates the speaker, it elevates our brand, it elevates me if I'm the one tweeting or whatever. And there's an aspect of that I think you can get to know the speakers. If you're really shy, if you're attending, go ahead and take a picture or tweet out one of their quotes. Like, okay, so I love everybody that's listening. I'm looking at you in the camera, okay? Just saying like, "Oh, I'm in Adam Silver's talk." That's boring. So like, try to think something that he actually said. Like, "Wow, Adam Silver said I should pre-size my photographs before I upload them to the media library. Great tip. Hashtag WCSD or whatever," right? Then you got the person's handle, the hashtag, and then something of value, as everybody likes to say. And then that gets you noticed. So that's my tip for getting to interact with the speakers, is because I did that, and Alex asked me to tweet for LA. And I've been doing it ever since. I'm like, I can't shake these WordCamps off. But let me just say, because Russ asked a question on Twitter, he said, "What's one thing you wished you had more time for while attending a WordCamp?"
Well, I know Russ's answer would probably be packing in the morning after a rough night and getting into an Uber with me.
Oh my God.
Was that out loud?
Yeah, that was out loud. He's from Vegas. Whatever happens, it happens in Vegas.
Actually, this was Ann Arbor. This was awesome. It was awesome. Brilliant. Anyway, what's the question again? Say the question.
Oh, what's the one thing you wish you had more time for while attending WordCamp? Ba-da-dum, bum, 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 bum. Ba-da-dum, bum, 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 bum. Now it feels like the dating game. Contestant number 1. What is one thing you wish? Sorry.
I wish I would have more time. One of 2 things. One would be to kind of, if it's a city I haven't been to, explore. Honestly, I wish I could.
Wow! Yeah, that's what I didn't do.
Explore more of the city if I haven't been there, or 2, sleep, because we go to bed late because of Cards Against Humanity, or just going out and doing dessert and then just dessert run at 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, one of those 2 things. Some sleep, because you're walking around a lot, you're doing a lot of stuff, but explore or some sleep. Yeah.
People said, "How did you like Philadelphia?" I'm like, the convention center was nice. I
Right.
think there was this famous guy on top of a building.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw more of Nashville when I went to a conference for that.
Right.
I know where to get good fried pickles for you.
Nice. And if you go back to Philly, do not. I did the touristy thing. We went and got the Philly cheesesteak at the place one across from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a waste.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that was. I've had better Philly cheesesteak out of a plastic bag.
No, the sleeping is a reality. And you know what? Here's the other thing. Like, a lot of us need a break. We need some downtime. That's another good reason to sit in a session.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep, it is.
And not to sleep, but to sit there and just focus.
Right.
Instead of having all of those distractions.
You know, and I used to be the person also like you. I went to WordCamp Vegas a couple years ago. I used to go to the camps and go to the sessions before I really knew people. Open up my laptop, have Twitterific open, you know, with the hashtag, and I would be tweeting left and right the whole time to gain that following, to gain that exposure. And now I don't. Now I'll do one or two through my phone, usually maybe my laptop. I'm a little faster still, but now I'm much more relaxed about it because I want to really listen to the speaker the best I can. Yeah. You know, or just be there, you know, not be distracted by what else is going on. What it's that, you know, the FOMO, right? What am I missing out in a different room? I don't need it. I'm here. Let me be here. So, yeah, you know.
Yeah, the sleep. I think the sleep is my big thing.
Yeah. So, but any other questions?
It's the walking around and making sure you're shaking all the hands and you're saying hi to everybody.
And I wish I had more room for shirts because I need more shirts in my life.
Bring a separate backpack, dude. I bring 2 backpacks.
Yeah, I know. Actually, what I do is I only bring 1 shirt in, and I leave with 7 out.
Nice.
Yeah, I can go. I think I'm up to 72. I think I can do 70 days in a row, 71 days in a row, wearing some piece of WordPress clothing, like, you know, out of the house and be completely and still be clothed. I mean, like right now, I think today. I only have 1 piece on today, and it's just now the eye themes from Corey. But today I actually didn't have none on because I just wore a nice pair of pants. I wore a button-down shirt. I'm slowly but surely not just doing the t-shirt and hoodie anymore because, especially when I speak, no more logos on me. Well, I have to be careful because there's something maybe changing there. But I dress up a little bit because I'm impressed by Jeff Zinn and Brandon Dove.
I was gonna bring that up. See that we have this little conversation at work, and we're talking about ties or not ties, button downs, no button downs, and I'm like, the WordPressers are growing up, and they're growing up in their clothing because there are way more ties in the pictures, way more collars.
Yeah, it's a combination. So I used to wear collars when I did some training for Apple and I go to conferences. I used to wear the polo, the Apple shirt, you know, the khakis, or just all black as a photographer. That was my thing. You know, it's kind of a uniform. The photographers wear all black. And then I left that. And, you know, in between the careers, when I switched over from photography more to this, I was like, great, I can wear jeans and a t-shirt to this conference. This is fantastic. And I lived it and I loved it. Yeah. But now I want to look nicer in general. So, and also for speaking, because my longer term goal is to speak more and maybe not just about WordPress.
Yeah.
You know, so as an overall look and it was a conscious decision again for branding and for myself, if I'm a speaker about technology and or marketing or, you know, whatever it may be, you know, there's a very few people who can get away with going on stage looking a certain way.
Gary Vaynerchuk does it.
Gary, Scott Stratton.
Yep. Yeah, he's.
You know, and I met Scott briefly, and also I think Chris Brogan dresses kind of casual as well. Yeah. But it takes a while to get to that level, and that's part of their brand. That's who they are. Yeah. And not that I couldn't do, but I'd rather look. I prefer. I'm still. I mean, I guess based on my age as well, I like to, you know, dress a little nicer sometimes. You know, so now especially for speaking, I'm doing that specifically. So.
Yeah, they gave me the advice that I should wear something I feel comfortable.
Right.
But confident in.
And
like I'm not wearing a dress, I'm gonna be fidgeting and wondering.
Right. The key is it has to fit too. For men and for women. If it doesn't fit you well and you put it on, if it's a jacket and it's too small because you've gained weight, men, or if it's too big because I used to buy XL because I'm tall. Yeah. So the problem with that is I need XX or I need XL, but there's too much fabric. So now I get stuff tailored, or I get it fitted because there's a huge difference. So anyway.
So with 20 minutes left on the show, we're bringing the train back here. Apparently, it looks like.
No, we're talking about speaking.
I know, but in the chat here, they're asking about using assistants for outsourcing stuff or doing any type of freelancing type stuff. So I know we were talking about, you guys are doing great on that, but what about virtual assistants, or what about outsourcing stuff or any of those sorts of things?
Yeah, do you have an accountant?
Any of that?
So I do this is how I do it. Depending on the project, I will build a team around it. If it's a small project, a couple pages, 3, 4, 5 pages, I'll do it myself. Makes the most sense financially for myself and for the client. I've bid jobs up to $15,000, $20,000, and I'm actually waiting to hear back on one sales for a church of all places. It's been like 4 months, but they're still a concierge client. They want a whole new site. And I bid them a job, and they're trying to figure out what they can afford. If I get that job, I will bring in a designer, I will bring in a developer, and I will project manage it. And then they'll become a concierge. They'll say, I'll keep them as concierge.
Yep.
I used to be completely anti-outsourcing and overseas. I switched my opinion of it a couple of years ago, because at the end of the day, if I can provide for my family and then somebody else can do the work, it makes more sense, and they provide for their family wherever they happen to live,
Yep.
It's a win-win. I used to be completely against it, but now the reality is the reality. I've hired other people to do certain work. The problem is having a team that you can trust.
Yes.
That's not going to just drop. I've had friends in our community, who just said, yeah, I can help you with that, because they knew more code, but then they just dropped the ball. They went MIA. I've sent work to Kyle. It just depends on the project. So yeah, I'm all for it. As far as an accountant and financials, I do have an accountant who's on my case all the time to catch up on things.
Yeah.
But I can't really be mad at her because she's also known as mom. So.
Nice.
Yeah, but every year I'm like, okay, this year I'm gonna get better at it. But it's like I hate doing it. This year is gonna be different because I left 5 months ago. So this year, it depends on how long I last. I mean, I only have so much savings before. I don't mind if I have to go work for the man again. I just couldn't work for the man I used to work for one.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to do what you got to do. I did apply a few times. Full disclosure, at Automatic. The first time I applied, I had read the book. Year Without Pants, great book, makes you want to work for the company. I was too early in my WordPress career, if you will. Applied again for community manager. Josepha got that job. Love Josepha. And then applied again, third time's the charm, for VIP. And I really wanted that job. And I wanted that job for two reasons. It was some travel. It was doing what I could do best as far as business development and in-person meetings. And I really wanted out of the old job. Didn't get it, but Matt did forward my information on. So, because I do know Matt now, Matt knows who I am. So that's great. He reviews all resumes, kind of thing. So there's talk still, hey, are you going to apply again for happiness? Because now VIP wouldn't work for me because I can't travel with my wife traveling, and we both can't be gone. So happiness could work, but it's there's a pros and cons. But as far as outsourcing, or build the team you need, or find the people you can trust, and start small.
Also, from an accounting standpoint, you should be outsourcing the things that cost way less.
Right.
So if you're charging $100 an hour, you don't want to do your own bookkeeping.
Right.
That's stupid.
Right. Yeah. Do what you're good at. Do what you're brilliant at. Outsource the rest. Easier said than done sometimes, but also
you have to do it, because otherwise you will be wasting your time on things that you're not good at.
Absolutely.
You will get burnt out.
Right.
That's a nod to tomorrow's show on WPwatercooler.
Right.
Yep. And you will be frustrated, and you will not be using your time well. Like, I learned this from construction. So we outsourced everything. So the thing is, it's very similar with that job costing is in construction is very similar, because you scope out the work, you get the job, you have a really tight budget, you have a really tight margin of profit. So if you take longer, you lose money. If you do shorter, you gain money. It's the same in construction. And I see a lot of my friends, and I swear to God, I'm going to figure out how to give this talk, that are not charging enough because they don't even know how much they cost to breathe. They do not know how much they cost to be a person in your building, paying rent and all your expenses. If you do not know how much you cost an hour to yourself, you do not know how much you should charge. So anyway, so then, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I just say $100. Probably nobody should be charging $100. Nobody in Southern California should be charging $100. You should be charging way more than that. Way more than that. And secondly,
I do.
Come on, Adam. We got you down from $14.99 that you used to do way back in the day, and now you're all the way to $100.
But there's an aspect of truth for the lost leader, and it's fine to outsource people, but you have to try them out. Don't commit them on a big project. Commit them on a project that you can control.
Right.
And the things that matter are the same things that matter in the rest of your life and every other kind of relationship: communication, expectations, and delivery. Mm-hmm. So I think about Amazon. I'm just, because I've started, whatever. I make all these jokes because self-depreciation is my thing. But here's the thing, like I was saying, if I was dating anybody, it was by the volume of text messages, and reliability be Amazon. So then I was thinking, like, there's an aspect of truth to that. When I counsel people in their relationships, because I counsel people, I did a lot of marriage counseling, is that they are managing your expectations. Good customer service manages expectations, under promises, over delivers.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So those things are really important. So if you're going to find a partner, they should believe the way you believe. You should be able to communicate with them. They should be able to communicate the way that you want. If you're at Basecamp, you're Basecamp. If you're Asana, you're Asana. If you're Slack, you're Slack. They should have good written skills. They should meet deadlines. They don't meet deadlines once, twice, 3 times as a pattern, out. I don't care if they're your best friend. Because you're building your business. This isn't friends.
Right. Right.
Love, Bridget.
And
I just wanted to get that in there.
Can I get an amen?
No, I'm serious, because I have these conversations a lot with some of my new friends.
Yeah. No, it's easy for us also. I mean, I'm really good at giving the advice sometimes, often, you know, and doing it from stage and doing it from, you know, behind the podium, whatever it is. But sometimes listening to myself is hard. You know, it really is. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made when I was in Colorado was I didn't hire a bookkeeper early enough to set up my books properly for my company then. You know, my company still is Silver Lining Productions, my parent company, my DBA, my EIN. But so I finally found somebody, and he ended up ripping me off and not doing it right and yada, yada. But I should have paid for it when I had the money up front. It would have been much easier. I could have seen what I was making or not making per month or per week, per month, per quarter, and knowing what I needed to do better. You know, we forget what we do is a business. Again, it's not a hobby. You know, it's not a hobby. And, you know, to charge hourly is fine if it works for you, but you're going to cap out on how many hours a day you can work. Right. So it's value. So I'm trying to go with the value-based pricing. You know, there's a great ebook from the guys from FreshBooks. If you guys, anyone wants it, it's free. I'll send it to you. I have the PDF. Send me an email. I'll share it. But value-based pricing is, you know, basic concept. If somebody's 22 years old and you know, their lifestyle is different than mine, you know, they can do the site for $500. I could too. I won't. I'm gonna charge you $5,000. Why? Because I'm gonna get it done in the time frame, you know, in the way you want it. Because the 22-year-old might want to go surfing. Because surf's up. So anyway, yeah, it's value-based pricing works much better, and that's a scalable option as well. You can't scale hourly unless the only thing you can do is raise your prices. Your hourly, and then you lose clients. If I say I can take a $5,000 project and $10,000 and a $20,000, I can bring in a team to build each one of those separately. And I can manage all 3 teams, right? Or get a PM, like somebody else above said about a project manager. Then you get a project manager. So I am trying to do what I do best. What I do best is talking to people, meeting people, building trust. You know, and they want to hire me because I'm good at that. I'm not the best developer. I'm not the best designer. Can I do it? Yes, but I'm better at this piece right here. So that's my strength, and this I know. And now just trying to get people to agree. It's
too bad you can't build websites by talking, right? You know,
not yet.
You're cranking out websites like crazy.
And actually, can I say real quick? So someone asked me recently, they want the easy website. They want to build. They want to make easy money. And I said the only way when a website is easy, this is the only way. This is, and it took me a while to figure it out. The only easy money website is this: if you find a company or somebody who has a website and it's terrible, and you take it upon yourself to spend 3 to 4 hours and rebuild it for them on spec, and then you show them, I go, hey Jason, here you go. Your site wasn't so nice. We're friends. I didn't want to tell you in person, but here I built you this. What do you think? You like it? Great. It's $1,000 or $750. That's easy because you didn't ask for it. If you don't like it, fine. I have a portfolio piece. If you have the time to do that, right? If you're doing it on the side, you're doing a side hustle. Once you start a conversation, first, hey, Adam, I want a site. Boom. It's not easy. Then there's a relationship that has to be built, and trust, and expectations, and money. But if I just do it on my own, without any expectations, that's easy. It's on me. No, nothing on you at all. So and the reason I mention this, I just did this recently, and it worked out great. So anyway. The site was really bad. The site looks really good now. It's not live yet. We're trying to get it off of Network Solutions onto better hosting and a concierge client. So it was a win-win-win. So yeah.
So would you definitely say speaking, teaching has contributed to your success as a freelance web developer?
Yeah. I mean, I
hope the answer is yes, because that was the topic for this.
Yeah, it has for sure. I mean, the speaking has definitely got me more exposure for what I do. The next step for me is to be more confident in the fact that I can deliver. I need to own it. I need to own it. Corey Miller said it best. We were at Cabo together. You know, you got to own it. And sometimes we forget that we have a skill and we have skills and talent. And I play my skills and talent down. I'm afraid to over promise and deliver. Yeah, I've been doing technology for a long time. I think a really long time, and more than people realize. What I've seen and done I started doing technology. This is gonna really sound like I'm old in a sense. 1982. I had a modem in 1982.
Wow, I didn't even know they had them in 1982.
110 baud dial-up modem, pulse.
Yeah, cover. Woohoo!
I got on AOL, I think, in 1994.
If you want, you can go further back and go to the AT commands.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it.
Oh, so you like the command line because it looks like
used to.
DOS.
Yeah. I've been doing this stuff along Baltimore systems. So that said, I have this breadth of knowledge and I know stuff. I just Various was born in 82.
Oh my God, these young people.
Bless your heart.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, 110 baud modem, and and to get a file, like I used to be a bit of a pirate, if you will. To get a game from the East Coast was long distance. Long distance was a thing, but I didn't have to pay for long distance. I'll leave it at that. But to get a file on a floppy disk, was the math. The equation was 3 seconds to 1 block, and it was 116 blocks for the game. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Check. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, check. And if you picked up the phone, starts over. There was no call waiting. Call waiting ruined us. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, right? So, yeah, I'm old. But I love it. Love it. So, yeah. In answer to the end answer question, yes, the speaking has for sure helped because it gets me, I'm passionate about it. And I think it comes across. I think that's the key is that, I love doing this enough that I do it every week, week in, week out. In any capacity I can. I always take people up on the ability, the opportunity to speak. So, yeah.
Awesome, Adam. I think that's gonna wrap it up. How about that, Bridget? Sound good?
I think that was perfect and to a great time chatting about life, love, and the pursuit of happiness.
Exactly.
By speaking at WordCamps and teaching in adult schools and chamber events.
That's it.
Level up, people.
Level up. Folks, thank you very much for watching this show, for hanging out with us in the chat room. If you didn't know this, we actually do a chat room that's live.
Cracking
Feel
me
free
up.
to come over and hang out. These guys are constantly trying to, make us laugh and do all sorts of funny stuff. We're not looking, but we totally are looking.
I barely look. Honestly, I'm like looking now. I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, thanks, James.
You're like, wow, that's a lot of stuff.
You're welcome, James.
Oh, sorry,
So-
we derailed his 15-second clip.
Yeah, no, that's all right. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com. Click on the links there to subscribe. If you are seeing anything, you've heard anything during this particular episode, there's some really great show notes that our community has been doing. So feel free to go take a look at those and follow those folks on Twitter. We allow them to put their Twitter accounts in there so they don't get all crazy spammy or anything like that. But we really appreciate all the hard work that they do setting up our Google Doc and making all that happen. So folks, thanks for watching. You have a good rest of your night. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.